I was 12 years old the year I discovered that nighttime could breathe. Our area wasn't big. Just a handful of houses lined like quiet soldiers along a dusty road. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and even the chickens walked like they owned the world. During the day, the place felt normal, sun-bright, loud, alive. But when the sun began to fall, everything changed. I remember standing outside one evening, playing with a stick I had carved to look like a sword. The sky shifted from orange to purple, and suddenly, from every corner of the neighborhood, people began disappearing indoors. Doors slammed, windows shut, lanterns dimmed. It wasn't just routine. It was fear. At that age, I didn't understand why everyone became soldiers guarding their own homes. But the tension in the air was sharp, like the whole world was warning me. Go inside. Now. As the shadow stretched across the ground, my mother grabbed my arm and pulled me in, her grip trembling just slightly. I didn't understand her fear then, but I felt it, and it planted a quiet seed in me. A seed that would grow into something far bigger. That was the first night I sensed that darkness held more than shadows. That was the night I realized the night had rules, and if you broke them, something came for you. Something that wasn't fully human and wasn't fully animal either. Something everyone feared so much, they changed their entire lives around its arrival. And it always came at the same time. 8 p.m. The night it happened, I wasn't supposed to be awake. But fear has a way of waking you before danger even arrives. I remember lying on my small mattress, staring at the ceiling, trying not to listen to the silence outside. Our neighborhood had its own kind of quiet, one that didn't feel empty, but watched. It was the kind of silence that made you wonder if something was listening back. My mother thought I was asleep. My siblings breathed softly beside me. The lantern in the corner flickered like it too, was afraid of the dark. And then it came, a sound that split my childhood in half. At first, it was just footsteps, slow, dragging, off rhythm, like whoever or whatever was walking had forgotten how to move like a person. The hairs on my arms stood straight. My heart began hammering so loudly I wondered if the creature could hear it. Then came the growl, low, wet, too deep to belong to anything I knew. It vibrated through the wooden walls. It filled the room like smoke, creeping into my ears, my chest, my bones. My mother froze. Then she moved toward me, her hand trembling as she covered my mouth gently. Not to silence me, to silence my fear. I could feel her heartbeat through her palm, fast, frantic, terrified. That alone told me everything. This wasn't a normal danger. This wasn't a thief. This wasn't an animal. This was the thing they warned us about. The one that came at 8 p.m. The one that walked like a man but didn't breathe like one. The one whose bite left marks that no doctor could explain. I couldn't stop myself. I leaned forward and peeked through a tiny crack in the wooden window, and I saw it. Not clearly. Never clearly. It was a shadow, tall and twisted, moving in a way no body should move. It was hunched, one shoulder higher than the other, as if carrying an invisible weight. It limped, but its movements felt intentional. Hunting. The moonlight touched its outline for a second, and I swear my breath vanished. Its legs were too long. Its arms hung like loose ropes. Its head jerked, twitching toward sounds only it could hear. Then it stopped, right in front of our house. Its shadow stretched across the dust, long and distorted, reaching toward our door like a hand that wanted to knock. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Then, it inhaled. A wet, rattling suck of air. The kind of sound you only hear from something that shouldn't be alive. My mother pressed her hand harder over my mouth. Her silent plea was clear. Don't move. Don't breathe. The creature exhaled with a low moan that didn't sound like pain, but hunger. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, it walked away, dragging its feet down the road, searching for anyone foolish enough to be outside. That night, something inside me broke open, and a fear entered that would take years to defeat. The fear of the dark, the fear of outside, the fear of being watched by something that wasn't supposed to exist. But that night also planted something else, something small, buried deep, the beginning of courage, waiting to grow. I didn't know it then, but that night was not the worst. The worst was yet to come. Fear spreads faster than truth. By the time I turned 12 and a half, the creature's legend wasn't just whispered, it ruled the village. We didn't need proof. The fear in people's eyes was enough. But the bite stories, those made everything real in a way even the adults couldn't hide. The first one I remember, clearly, was Meda. He was a tall, bright-eyed man who loved walking around with his radio pressed to his ear. He claimed nothing scared him. Not night, not spirits, not the creature everyone else ran from. Meda was the type who laughed at danger, until the night he didn't. He came home past 8 p.m. He said he tried to outrun the nonsense fear. But fear is not the thing you outrun. It is the thing that finds you. The next morning, the entire neighborhood gathered at his door. I squeezed myself between adults, desperate to see what had happened. And when they opened the door for fresh air, Meda walked out. Or what was left of him walked out. His right leg was bandaged in layers of cloth, but even that couldn't hide the swelling. The bandage was stained with dark red and brown, like something was rotting underneath. He limped, but not from pain. It was like the leg no longer belonged to him. His eyes were changed too, haunted, as if he had seen something that lived between worlds. They said he was bitten, but no one could explain the shape of the wound. It was like teeth, someone whispered. No, not teeth. Something worse. Every version of the story made my fear grow taller. Then there was Ashcurly, a woman who went outside just to grab laundry she had forgotten on the line. She didn't make it back to her door before something bit her shoulder from behind. She didn't scream at first. She froze, and when she finally screamed, the whole village woke. For weeks, she shook at night. She said the creature's breath still followed her in her dreams. She wouldn't sleep in a dark room anymore. The stories kept multiplying like shadows. A farmer bitten on the ankle, a teenager bitten on his back, a trader bitten while returning late from the market. Some said the creature didn't attack those who feared it. It attacked those who didn't believe. That terrified me more. I was only a child, and the rules were unclear. If you stayed indoors, were you safe? If you looked outside, was that an invitation? If you didn't fear it enough, did it come closer? If you feared it too much, did it sense you? The adults pretended to know the answers, but their trembling hands and shaky voices told me otherwise. I started hearing the bite stories not as warnings, but as countdowns. Every new victim meant the creature was growing bolder, hungrier, closer. And every night, when the clock crawled toward 8 p.m., the air in the house thickened. The tension pressed against the walls, waiting. I learned to hear fear in silence. I learned to feel danger without seeing it. I learned to count every second after sunset like a prisoner counting steps in a hallway. And deep inside me, something settled. A belief that darkness was alive. Not metaphorically, not spiritually. Alive, waiting, watching. And I was certain it knew my name. I used to think fear lived in big moments. The kind where something jumps out or screams or chases you. But fear is smarter than that. It doesn't always attack. Sometimes it sits quietly beside you and waits to grow. Night became that kind of fear for me. Once Meda, Ashcurly, and the others were bitten, the rules of our lives changed. Not officially, no one wrote them down, but everyone obeyed them like sacred laws. At 7:45 p.m. sharp, everything stopped. Water fetching stopped. Evening play stopped. Arguments stopped. Cooking fires died down. Doors bolted. Windows latched shut. Voices softened to whispers. The village didn't sleep. It held its breath. Inside our small house, the fear felt thicker than the heat. I always sat far from the window, pressed against the wall, knees to my chest. I was afraid that if I got too close, the creature would see me through the tiny cracks. Sometimes I placed my ear against my knee just to muffle the sounds outside. My siblings teased me during the day, but at night they didn't laugh. They sat on their mattresses, eyes wide, pretending not to be afraid. But I saw it, the way their hands trembled, the way their breathing grew shallow when night fell. My mother tried to comfort us. She told us not to fear, but fear isn't something words can dissolve. Fear listens only to itself. And every night at 8 p.m., the same sounds returned. The creature was consistent, reliably horrifying. Some nights it passed our door without pausing. Other nights it lingered, breathing, sniffing, listening. Those were the worst nights. The house felt too small to hide in. The walls felt too thin to protect us. The darkness felt too alive to ignore. As weeks turned to months, the fear wasn't outside anymore. It lived inside me, curled deep in my stomach. I began avoiding anything that reminded me of nighttime. If someone mentioned going out after sunset, my chest tightened. If the day started to darken, my hands became cold. If I heard footsteps behind me, any footsteps, my soul jumped. Night became a prison with invisible bars, and 8 p.m. became my silent jailer. There were times I asked myself a question I never dared say aloud. What if the creature wasn't just outside? What if it was inside me too, growing with my fear? My mother noticed the change. She started calling me inside earlier. She made sure I didn't fetch water in the evening. She watched me with worried eyes, like she could see the night eating my childhood in small pieces. But fear is not something you choose. It chooses you. And it had chosen me completely. Until the night everything changed, until the night strangers walked into our village and spoke the one sentence I never expected to hear. Tonight we ended. But that comes later. Before hope arrived, fear ruled me. I thought it always would. Hope rarely walks with noise. It slips into a place quietly, almost shy, almost unsure if it's welcome. That was how the spiritual men arrived. It was early morning. The sun was still lazy, barely lifting its head over the horizon. I was outside sweeping the compound when I heard murmurs rising from the main road, soft at first, then growing like ripples in water. People were gathering, whispering, pointing. I slipped my broom aside and ran toward the crowd, heart racing with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Because in our village, unexpected visitors usually meant one of two things: trouble or something trying to end it. 4 men stood at the center of the crowd. They didn't look like warriors. They didn't carry weapons. They weren't bulky or intimidating. But there was something about them, a calmness that didn't match our frightened world. Each of them wore white garments, spotless despite the dusty road. They held staffs carved with symbols that seemed to move when the sunlight hit them. Their faces were serene, not proud, not nervous, just steady, like they had already seen the end of a story we had not begun to understand. The oldest among them stepped forward. His voice was calm, too calm. "We heard what lives here," he said, "and tonight we end it." The words struck me like thunder. The adults gasped. Some stepped back. Others stared at the men with desperate, fragile hope. I felt something unexpected in my chest, a flicker, small but warm, something I hadn't felt in months. Could fear finally lose? My mother touched my shoulder, her hand trembling. "Stay close," she whispered. The men didn't ask for anyone's help. They didn't ask for directions. They didn't ask to see the bitten victims. They simply walked through the village, observing quietly, pausing now and then as if listening to something unseen. The villagers followed them at a distance, whispering, watching with wide eyes. The men stopped near the path where the creature was often seen. "This is where it walks," one of them said. "How do you know?" a villager asked. The man smiled gently. "We can feel it." The crowd shivered. That evening, while the sun dipped, the men prepared themselves. They didn't carry charms or weapons. They carried lamps, small clay lamps filled with oil. They arranged them in a circle on the ground, their flames dancing in the wind like courageous little spirits. The oldest man looked up at the sky and said softly, "Fair ends tonight." The villagers didn't know whether to believe him, but they wanted to. God knows they needed to. I stood behind my mother, eyes glued to the men, heart thumping like a drum in a ceremony. The air felt different already, thicker, charged, expectant. The men sat in the center of the lamps. They bowed their heads. They began to chant, soft, rhythmic, ancient. Their voices blended into something that felt older than the creature itself, something that belonged to light. As I watched them, I felt something shift inside me, a small crack opening in the wall fear had built around my life. Maybe, I thought, just maybe, the night could be defeated. When the last scream of the Nightborn faded, the elders stood in a tight circle, their staffs buried in the earth like roots pulling the darkness out of the soil itself. A gust of wind tore across the village, not cold, not hungry, just wind. Normal wind. The first we had felt in months that didn't carry whispers or footsteps behind it. The night softened. The shadows loosened their grip. The air became just air again. For the first time in a long time, I saw stars without faces in them. The spiritual men returned at dawn, robes torn, skin ash gray, but alive. They carried no trophies, only silence. The kind of silence that meant something terrible had ended, not merely paused. People poured out from their huts, crying, clinging to them, praising them. The village called it victory. The elders called it restoration. But me, I just felt small. Because even after the light returned, the sky no longer trusted me. And I no longer trusted the dark. Every time evening settled, every time the last chicken was tied, every time a lantern flickered, my chest tightened with old memory. The Nightborn were gone. The village slept safely again, but I could not step outside after dusk. Not anymore. Not after what I'd seen. Not after what had seen me. And sometimes, on the edge of sleep, I feel the earth shift, like something beneath it remembers my footsteps and waits. My fear of the night was not weakness, it was memory. And memory is how a survivor becomes a guide. Is there a night in your life, something you fear, that still controls when you step outside?